Hey everybody, and hope everyone's doing good as usual. Thank you for watching and tuning in. And of course, if you haven't yet, please subscribe. Let me know if you have any questions or comments at all. I'd love to do more videos on it, and give it a thumbs up if you like it. So, I've been trying to put together recently a lot of information about the origins of existence, and I've been trying to channel this information. I've got a lot of interesting info, and I'm trying to figure out how to put it out there. So I figured just like a little bit at a time. Um, and I've been writing all this down, and I'm trying to kind of piece it together. And what I've noticed is um, a lot of this stuff has been documented, but not necessarily pieced together. Like for example, and I'll tell you what I mean as I kind of go through it. So, which kind of makes sense, and I want to make sure I'm putting it together right. But I'll tell you where I'm at, and I think it's really fascinating stuff. But so really, to start with, whether you believe in a creator God or simple evolution, well, not so simple evolution, but one or the other. There's got to be one or the other, right? It was created or it happened. Um, but either way, um, so my personal belief is it is physical evolution. Everything that exists here on Earth wasn't created by anyone. Um, so this happened naturally, our galaxy and everything like that. But there has been, okay. So we'll get to that later. Like what's occurred throughout our evolution as a species. But the question I always asks, if there's a God, what comes before God? And that's the same question that you kind of answer when you think about outer space, because if you just remove everything, so let's start with the basics, right? So if there's absolutely nothing, there will always be space. So if you delete every idea and concept and everything ever, nothing is around, period. The concept of space will always be there. It's the one singular constant that is eternal. That's kind of the platform for everything. Because if you think about it, like if you have empty space, there's no boundaries. Because let's say there's a boundary, then now you have something more than space because it's creating that boundary. So, and what's on the other side of that? In other words, nothing is literally eternal. Space is the first concept we get, and when you think about that, it makes sense, because you can't run out of space, because then what's on the other side of that? Something other than nothing, So space is the eternal platform for everything. So whether you believe this was created or not, or evolved, personally, I believe that it came from evolution. And from what I understand, so I was asking questions like, well, if it's not just space, so everything has a built-in duality, which is interesting from the way it was explained to me. The duality is simply physical and non-physical. So space itself is a concept. It is a thing. It expands in every direction. And it is physical space, but there is an identical non-physical duality. It's just the nature of everything physical. So in this, space is teeming with energy, apparently. So it's not just the next concept that comes after singular space is there's an energy that permeates everything, and it is truly eternal, from what I was told. I was saying, well, what comes next after space? Like if everything evolved from, I was asking, so channeling this information or just asking like my guides, for example. And I've been talking to a lot of people actually, trying to get this information, but in general, it's who I talk to, or I just pose the question and wait for the answer. So this energy, apparently, there is an energy that permeates everything. Space, it goes hand in hand with space itself. So like and it is constant, and it is truly eternal. So you can't run out of it. The space is eternal, and this is like an integral part of it. There's an energy underlying all space. It's simply there and does not have to be replenished. And I think, now I could be wrong, but I think this is what they talk about when they talk about like 0-point energy. There's a field of energy that can never be depleted. I think it's what Nikola Tesla was talking about. And I've watched some videos on it, but I think when I was hearing these, I want to say that's the same idea that they're talking about, because eternal space, it can be theorized, rationalized, and conceptualized. And then apparently within this space, there is a secondary, the next concept we reach after the physical and non-physical. There's an identical duality of everything physical existing as a non-physical counterpart. So at all times. And it's just the nature of physical existence, I guess. So the next energy that, or the next concept other than space is energy. There's an energy that just permeates everything. And it's not dense from what I told. So it's not like thick and it's not continuous like a big, like when you see just pure black outer space, it's not like that. It's patterned from what I was explaining, but it kind of like pops in and out or sizzles or like simmers. There's like a simmering field of energy that is continuous and constant, that is one with space at all times. And it permeates everything apparently. It's even through us at all times. So space and time, of course, like they talk about in science, the space-time continuum. It's just a natural and eternal duality that exists, meaning no matter what, like you can't measure space without automatically measuring time, because you have to start going in a direction, in other words. So space and time are eternally connected, and so is this field of energy that permeates everything. So it is this energy that eventually, with all this energy, when you take this idea or you theorize it against the backdrop of infinity, it's going to exist as a simmering energy field of all space in every direction forever. Never runs out. Remember, space is eternal. And there's just going to be that, or eventually something's going to happen where this energy collides or comes together or begins to like unfold, and it may sizzle back out or something like that. But over time, eventually, if time is eternal, eventually the idea that something could happen is possible. And it did, clearly, because here we are. So, and over time, things just compounded over and over, and then just the incredibly complex and amazing idea of evolution. But so anyways, and eventually, as this energy, the Big Bang Theory, which is true, and I was asking about that too, but from what I'm told, the information I got is that there were actually 2 Big Bang events, and not like separate in different parts of the universe. There was 2 that were connected. In other words, one happened, and then the second was like a chain reaction from the first one. But these were like the 2 like marker events that kind of created the physical universe, as we call it, as we know it, that confined, of course, within eternal space. And it is just massive, and it's extremely old. And, a lot of the scientific theories and everything hold true, like with the Big Bang Theory and how things happened. But life didn't just, from what I was explained, this is kind of where it started blowing my mind a little bit too, and it makes perfect sense. So just like as things like scattered and settled in, and then gravity fields formed and galaxies and then planets, and things started evolving within these atmospheres, and like just all life that we know it throughout outer space just started evolving over time. It didn't just happen in a three-dimensional context, like like you and me physically, height, depth, and weight. So like physical matter, dense physical matter as we know it, but we are the slowest or densest form of life. So if you want to call it like, for simplicity's sake, like I was referring to it as like, not the third dimension, but we're three-dimensional. I called it like the first dimension, the slowest resonating patterns of energy that created a platform for life. So that's us. We are like the physical. There's nothing lower or slower than us that exists. We exist on that vibration, on that dense level of physicality. But these unfolding explosions created the process of evolution in other dimensions. Dimensions being lighter frequencies of physicality, where things actually came together and evolved as well, but are just outside our spectrum of day-to-day visual view, for example. Like a good example is like radio or TV waves or microwaves. So they're physical, they're less dense. We can't see them, but they're real, and they have properties, and we can measure them. So these explosions created like these unfolding dimensions in various degrees of density. And remember, the concept of infinity can be applied to anything, both physical and non-physical. So meaning the idea that life could evolve not just on, like this hard, dense kind of plane of reality, the same concepts of things coming together and, creating planets and that sort of thing and platforms for life on different frequencies is an absolute possibility. So, because if you equate like numbers to infinity, so you take your hand, for example, and you keep cutting it in half, like you keep the distance, like you take 1 foot and you cut it in half, it's 0.5 and then 0.25 and you'll never hit zero. So that's a good way to conceptualize. If you keep cutting like a number in half, you'll never reach zero, and it works in both directions, greater and smaller. So if you equate that to like frequencies or different densities of matter, then there's infinite size and possibility as far as that sort of thing. Our eyes can only pick up a certain thing, a certain range, of, what we interact with on a day-to-day basis. There's a lot more they can pick up, which is pretty fascinating too, but through evolution, we were just kind of tuned into what's relevant to our existence. The usual stuff that we see on a day-to-day basis. So I had asked, so how many dimensions, if we call these different collections of evolution that very much overlap, that kind of like unfolded from the same two Big Bang chain reaction. I was like, how many dimensions are there? And the number I heard was 74. So 74 total. And remember, our physical universe is like the first dimension. So there's 74 various dimensions where things happened after these two Big Bangs and then created, and they all contain life, just like this does. So I found that pretty amazing, and it makes sense, like conceptually, if you think about it. So, and the possibility, and there is advanced life, which is kind of the next crazy part of all this information I've been getting. So let me stop there, I think, because I don't want to put it all into, because I could probably talk forever about this. I was getting really excited over the last few days when I was trying to put this together. But so that's where I'm at, kind of as far as the foundation of existence itself, and where it comes from. That's a very, hopefully I said that right or clearly, but that's kind of a basic way to put it, to conceptualize what is infinity, why, and if evolution, how did it happen? And then after the Big Bangs, what settled in. And this is, from what I'm told, like the only events that we're tracking to, in other words. So now evolution can also occur. This is an important point because can also occur in the non-physical aspects. Now remember, when the Big Bang occurred, this was physical energy. Everything has a non-physical counterpart. So the same possibility can exist in the spiritual realms. For example, evolution occurred over there as well. So evolution can occur Because remember, there's that physical, non-physical duality of all eternal space, just like it occurred here in the physical realms and created 74 dimensions as the platform. That's the foundation. There's a lot more now, which is interesting. There's more dimensions. But that was the kind of the foundation that got the process going. And the same process can occur non-physically too. So both happened, from what I understand. I'm not too clear on the origins of non-physical evolution. What came first? But as far as what we could track to, this was the first set of Big Bang, experiences, I guess, or that created the physical, what we have and what we can track to today. So, because remember, if it happened again and it just got like zeroed out or destroyed somehow, who knows how many cycles came before us. But another reason why life is very much taken seriously and preserved physically and non-physically in spiritual realms, but also in the highest, most advanced civilizations. This is where I'll leave it, I guess, for this video, but and I'll try to put this in other videos. But I've always likened, for example, the physical realms to be more limiting than the spiritual realms, because our minds, for example, our souls are non-physical, and things can happen with the power of immediacy and intent, using our minds. For example, like with my car, my physical car, I got to put physical gas in it and step on the gas pedal and move it, and I have to walk over to the car and, do all that kind of stuff. Now, or if I want to, an Apple, I have to go to the store and get one, that sort of thing. But with your mind is a great demonstration of the way spiritual energy works, the non-physical energy. So intent, everything, it can create something immediately. I can just picture my car in front of me and I can picture it moving without gas, right? So you can create this image in front of you and it's real because you're seeing it and you're creating it. Or I can picture an apple in my hand or a can of Pepsi. So I don't have to go to the store and get one. I can manifest and close my eyes and think about all 5 senses that relate to that sort of thing. And it's a real non-physical experience that you're creating. And it's happening immediately. You don't have to wait for the apple to grow on the tree and that sort of thing. So I always had this separation in my mind where, things, of course, everything is infinitely possible, eternal life and health and everything in the spiritual realms because it's been mastered and conquered there. And we have to deal with age and death, and the process of chronology and time and things that fall within that, things that rise and fall, in other words. So we're more limited in what we experience. Now, I do believe in healing and that sort of thing, and I've done other videos on it. So I don't, write that kind of thing off. I think it's possible. But some of my conversations in the last few days, this is what really blew my mind. So this is what I'm going to do other videos on. This idea of technology, the idea of infinity itself being mastered and harnessed, like it is in the afterlife, where our souls go, eternal health and life and all that stuff, has also been mastered physically. So, and I was like, what? So it took me a while to actually kind of wrap my brain around that because I was like, no. So, but after thinking about it for a while and having some more conversations back and forth, it makes sense. Technologically, it is possible physically. And I was like, yeah, of course, because I kept saying as I was trying to put this together, infinity can be conceptualized and therefore realized eventually. It's just a possibility. Just like all this is a possibility. So kind of like I was talking about the space between your hands. So if you apply that idea to the fact that numbers can be quantified and applied to anything, then literally infinity is possible in the physical realms too. And I was like, of course, I didn't think about that. So, and there are apparently civilizations out there, old ones, extremely old, and some exist in multiple dimensions too, and that have mastered the idea of infinity and the very idea of 0 point source energy for things like immortality, believe it or not, like physical immortality, and resources, they don't run on kind of like we talk about non-renewable resources we're going to run out, we need to find, that sort of thing. 0 point energy, this field of energy that exists everywhere, that is infinite, can be tapped into, and they've harnessed this and have realized things that only sound godlike and impossible until you start thinking about it and applying it, one idea at a time, and you're like, well, eventually that is possible. And that's where I'm going to stop, because that's where I'm at with, at least for this video, because I could keep talking. But so that's kind of the idea, the fundamental, my understanding of the, where this all came from, and the fact that infinity has been realized and mastered and harnessed not only in the physical realms, but the spiritual realms as well. So that's all for this video. I hope you found it entertaining, because I've been really excited, like, learning about this kind of thing and trying to figure it out. So I hope it provided some interesting information, or maybe some questions. Let me know if you have questions or anything. I'm doing my best to kind of put this together so I can understand it and share it to the best of my ability. So as always, thank you for watching, and please take care. We'll see you in the next video. Thank you.